Hi, my name is Divya Hazra. I'm a legal advisor at the India desk of D'Andrea Partners Legal Counsel. In my today's YouTube video, I will be talking about the startup ecosystem in India, the present and future prospects, along with some key tips on how to start a startup in India. Now, I would like to share my presentation with you. Before we get into today's topic, let me quickly introduce you to our law firm. D'Andrea Partners Legal Counsel is a full-service law firm which is based in 9 different cities and across 5 countries. Our practice areas are widespread, which includes corporate and commercial law, labor law, IPR, FDI, ODI, and dispute resolution. Here, like I mentioned, we have 9 offices, and you can see the contact information of each one of those. Now, quickly getting into today's topic, which is startups in India, I will be talking about a brief overview of the startup ecosystem in India. Next, I will be talking about the assessment of the startup ecosystem in India. Third, I will discuss the evolution of startups in India, which is mostly unicorns and what constitutes unicorns in India. Fourthly, I will be talking about the state-sponsored initiatives for startups in India. And lastly, I will be talking about the steps to establish a startup in India. Now, under the Indian laws and regulations, what entity qualifies as a startup in India? First, to qualify as a startup in India, you must be incorporated as a private limited company or a partnership firm or a limited liability partnership. And for the first 10 years from the date of your incorporation, you will be deemed to be a startup in India. Or in the event your turnover for any of the financial years since incorporation does not exceed INR 1 billion. Then in these circumstances, you will be deemed to be a startup in India. Next, let's look into what is the current scenario when it comes to startups in India and why we strongly believe that there is a huge potential for startups in India. Now, when it comes to the cities, according to a recent study, the top cities for incubation of startups in India is Bangalore, followed by Delhi, and then followed by Mumbai. And whereas the top 3 sectors by funding amount is edtech, followed by fintech, followed by foodtech. And the top 3 sectors by number of deals is fintech, followed by edtech, and followed by healthtech. Now, if you look at the huge market, what are the total number of deals which were funded in the year up to the year 2020? There have been 881 deals. The total funding amount has been 9.94 billion US dollars, and the total number of active investors in the Indian markets is 1,476. Now, to assess when it comes to the top 3 investors, those 3 are Sequoia, Venture Catalyst, and AngelList. And the top 3 startups by funding amount till date is Baiju, which is currently valued at 1.2 billion US dollars, followed by Oyo, which is at $905 million, followed by Zomato, which is at $660 million. And now when it comes to the startup unicorns in India, well, what is, first of all, for our viewers, what is unicorn? Unicorns are startups which are valued at 1 billion or more. And India has registered a record 11 unicorns in the pandemic hit year 2020. And till date, India has a total of 100 unicorns, and it is the 3rd largest startup ecosystem after the US and China. Now, when it comes to the startup unicorns, which are the 3 most popular sectors in which they have been present, those being financial technology, education technology, and some of the most commonly known names that you see, which is Paytm, Zomato, Big Basket, and Baiju. Now, what has led to this huge development of the startup ecosystem in India? Well, the government has been pushing a lot in the last few years to boost the startup ecosystem in India. And here I have laid down some of the 3 main key policies which have been implemented. First, obviously, the Startup India initiative, which was introduced by the government of India to create a conducive environment for development of startups in India through innovation, tax exemption, and design. The second one is the Credit Guarantee Trust Fund for micro and small enterprises, where collateral-free loans up to INR 1 crore is provided to eligible startups and MSMEs in India. Third is credit-linked capital subsidy for technological upgradation, where financial help is given to MSMEs to upgrade their technology and implement state-of-the-art platforms. Now, when it comes to the Startup India initiative, now this is something which I want to specifically discuss with you because this is the biggest initiative and there are several advantages that if you are a startup, you could get under this. One is the fact that you have very little regulatory compliances, where under several labor law and environmental law, you can just self-certify yourself, which means you don't have to go through the complex bureaucratic process of getting registered. Second is when it comes to public procurement, you do not have to pay any earnest money deposit or bid security if you are a startup in India and you would want to participate in a public procurement process. Third is the large tax incentives, which is provided for startups. Not only has the process of filing for taxes been simplified, but also a lot of exemptions are granted to startups in India. And lastly is the huge access that you have to capital to provide funding support for the growth of innovative driven enterprises. Now, lastly, I will be talking about the steps to establish a startup in India. Well, to set up a startup in India, you have to first incorporate a company. Now, there are several different kinds of company you may choose to incorporate. One is a private limited company. Second is a partnership firm, or third is a limited liability partnership. Now, this totally depends on the size of the operations you want to have. If you are a much of a smaller company or you have limited number of partners, then it's ideal to go for a partnership or a limited liability partnership. But if you're looking at something at a bigger, larger scale, then I guess it's easier to set up a private limited company in India. Now, once you have your company registered, the next most important step that you have to take is register your business with Startup India. Now, how do you do that? The process is completely online. You log into the Startup India website, you fill up a form, include the details of your business, and that's pretty much the process of registration of a startup in India under this website. And then once you have done registration with Startup in India, the third most important process is to get the Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, which is commonly known as DPIIT. You need to get the recognition from this department because this is extremely important to avail the benefits which I spoke to you about in my previous slide, which startups could get in India, such as high quality intellectual property services. You can get relaxations in public procurement norms. You can get self-certification under environmental and labor laws. Along with that, most importantly, you get the tax exemption for 3 consecutive years if you are registered as a startup with the DPIIT and you get the recognition. And the process for getting this recognition is that you need to submit the incorporation documents of your company, the details of the directors of your company, the PAN number, and other, I would say, the other important information about your registered entity in India. Once this application is submitted, the process is simple. A post application or a recognition number is provided for the startup, and this certificate is usually provided after 2 days of submission of the details online. And once you get this, I think your startup is all set to go. Now, that being the steps to establish a startup in India, I have come to the end of my video for today. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at the email ID mentioned in the description box below. And thank you so much for watching. With this, I come to the end of my video for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, leave us your questions at the email mentioned in the description box below. And thank you so much.